Hello and welcome to episode 3 of my Wholesome Christmas series. Today I'm going to show you cooking a pie to go with our roast dinner, and also going to have a look at some of our Christmas music we have on vinyl. We like to get out at Christmas and play. And I'm going to have a little look around some of our Christmas decorations that we've got out now. Now we're getting closer to the big day. So I hope you enjoy having a little look at some of our cooking and some of what's going on in the house. And yeah, enjoy! I'm going to cook a vegetarian main to go with our roast on Christmas Day. Don't normally have sort of a main food sort of item, but as it's Christmas, thought we would try and make something. So I'm going to make a chestnut and mushroom pie, and I'm going to base it on a recipe from this book, which is Vegenomics. Which is a vegetarian cookbook, and I'm going to change it slightly. The recipe doesn't have egg in it, and I'm going to not use that. I'm going to use the almond milk instead to brush the pastry. A few other little changes, but yeah, that's roughly what I'm going to make. Hopefully it'll look something like this at the end of it. So these are the ingredients. I've got some plain flour, I've got some thyme and garlic, I've got 3 large leeks, I've got some chestnut mushrooms, I've got some carrots, I've got some salt and some baking powder for the pastry, and some vegetable suet. So yeah, so pretty simple recipe and ingredients. Yeah, so I'll crack on making the pastry. To make the pastry, it's quite simple. It's 2 cups of plain flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, 1 cup of the suet, and half a teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to mix that all together and then form a dough with 2/3 of a cup of water. Now I've got a ball of dough. I'm going to wrap that in cling film and put it in the fridge for half an hour to chill while I make the inside of the pie. The first part of the filling is cutting up the leeks and carrots and putting them in a large pan with a little bit of oil for about 6 minutes until they've softened. So I'm going to cut up the leeks and I'm going to get them on first. And then while they're starting to cook, I'll get the carrots in. So I'm just going to roughly chop these as fine as I can. I've got the leeks in the pan, they're just starting to heat up. So next up, I'm just going to chop the carrots. I'm just going to take the tops off and then cut them into thin slices. While the leeks and carrots are cooking away in the background, I'm just going to cut up the mushrooms. So I'm going to keep them fairly large. Just going to cut them into quarters, the smaller ones. Maybe a few more bits for the bigger ones. I want them quite chunky so you can still see them in the pie. The leeks and carrots have been on for about 6 minutes now, so I've added the mushrooms. So I'm just going to stir them in and leave them for about 4 minutes to cook before I add the rest of the ingredients. While I'm waiting for the mushrooms, I'm just going to sort of slice the chestnuts. These are already pre-cooked chestnuts, so don't need to peel them or anything. Just chop them up and put them in. The mushrooms have been in for a few minutes now, so I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients. I've got the chestnuts I chopped up, so they can go in. I've got some flour, so 1 heaped tablespoon of flour. I've got some dried thyme. And I've got some garlic. Can use fresh cloves. And I'm just going to stir that all in. Stir it for about a minute to let it all combine before I add some water. Could add some stock, or the recipe does suggest light ale, but I don't have any ale. We don't really drink, so don't really have those in the house. It's been stirred for about a minute, so I'm going to add about 400 millilitres of water and then leave that uncovered to come to the boil for about 15 minutes until it's thickened. While the filling is finishing up in the pan, I'm just going to roll my pastry out. It's been in the fridge about half an hour chilling. So I'm just going to get a little bit of flour and put it on the work surface and roll this out to about the size of my my baking dish. So I've got my square dish. Yeah, so simple as that. I'm just going to roll it out, and that's about the right size. So I'll stick with that and put the filling in the dish. So here we go, the final put together. So I've got my filling, so I'm just going to put that in the pan. And that fills it up nicely. Then I'm going to take some almond milk and my little dude and just rub that around the edge. And take the pastry, put it over the whole dish and just tuck it in the sides. I want to leave a nice little crimped bit up the side, so I'm just going to take off the excess that's hanging over. I want it to be quite rustic. I'm not worried about a nice perfect edge to it. And I'll brush that with the milk and put a hole in the middle, let the steam out. I've preheated the oven to 200 degrees C. That's been on for about a quarter of an hour warming up. So that should be nice and hot now. Just make a little hole in the middle. There we go. That's ready to go in the oven. It will cook for about 30 minutes or until the top is golden brown. And you should be able to see the nice sort of brown glaze on the top. And yeah, I'm going to make some bits to go with the meal. So this is the pie out of the oven. It's got a nice brown crust to it. Looks really good. I thought I'd share with you some of the Christmas music we have in this house. This is my collection of vinyl Christmas songs. These have sort of come from a variety of places over the years. Some have been passed down from family. A couple were bought for the early days of when I did discos, and I think I may have bought some others more recently. I'm certainly keeping an eye out for different stuff in charity shops and on the internet. So yeah, I thought I'd show you a couple of them. Some of them are probably very British ones. Others are more American versions. So the albums I've got, and we use quite a bit. Firstly, a huge classic, White Christmas by Bing Crosby. It's obviously got some really nice sort of 50s sort of music on, and some of the classics. So there's stuff like Silent Night, obviously White Christmas on there, Jingle Bells, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and some of the sort of Hawaiian ones, which is really nice. So yeah, that's sort of the 50s kind of nice, sort of goes nicely with the White Christmas film. Obviously we watch most Christmas years, so that's one I really like. Much more modern one that I think we had for disco days, which is the Now Music Christmas album. I think we actually bought this on CD as well later on, and this has got the sort of more 80s, 90s, probably 80s stuff and some of the 70s stuff. So this is some of the sort of classics you hear a lot on the radio and stuff. It's stuff like the Band-Aid, Slade and Wham, and some of the sort of Christy Berg, and there's even a Beach Boys one on there, and Queen. So yeah, sort of the more modern end of the stuff. That's probably the most modern Christmas vinyl I've got. Certainly got some CDs and stuff, and tend to use YouTube and things these days. But yeah, that's the more modern stuff. And then on the other end of the scale is the sort of classic songs. Not necessarily, I don't think this album's necessarily specific artists. I think it's a collection of songs. It says all-time favourites. Here's some of the sort of classic carols. Silent Night, Away in a Manger, Mary's Boy Child, all that sort of stuff. That's quite nice to listen to. Obviously paid £1.99 for this, I'm guessing in Woolworths or something similar back in the 80s. And the real classic, the last album, this is the real carols, proper old sort of cathedral. It was recorded in Guildford Cathedral and St Paul's. So it's a real church-based one. And yeah, again, that's got the real classics on. So that's quite nice, quite traditional. I quite like the traditional stuff at Christmas. So that's the albums. And then here's some of the singles I dug out. I'm sure there's some more buried in there. I don't tend to play them that much because they obviously don't last very long when they're playing, but they're nice to have. So here's Merry Christmas Everyone, Slade. Obviously quite a classic in this country. I'm not sure about abroad. But yeah, it's quite one you hear a lot on the radio and things. Another sort of one, Shakin' Stevens. It's quite a cool sleeve, this one. I quite like his sleeve. It's quite distinctive. Always stands out in the collection. That's quite nice. What's this one? This is Bing Crosby White Christmas as well, but it's on the single, and it's got God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen on the B-side. So yeah, again, I don't play that much because we've got it on the album and stuff, but nice to know I've still got it, and I think it's in quite good condition. Yeah, because we haven't played it much, so yeah, it's in good condition. And then the last but not least, a record that's probably worth significantly more than £1.20 that we paid for it back in the day, following the sad demise of David Bowie. But yeah, this is David Bowie and Bing Crosby. Peace on Earth, Little Drummer Boy. The video's up on YouTube, which is quite cool to watch. So that's my little Christmas vinyl collection. Some of the ones we like to play, as amongst the other sort of nice stuff that we've got. Hope you enjoyed having a little look into what we've got and some of the old classics. So I hope you enjoyed watching that, and that some of you might make some of that pie. I have to say that was one of my favourite meals that we make, and that book's really good, so definitely check that one out. Lots of modifications you can make to that recipe as well, lots of different things you can chuck in there, so yeah, definitely recommend that. And yeah, I hope you're all getting ready for the big day itself and looking forward to opening your presents. So yeah, Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a really good holiday. Bye.